I wanted to ask you guys about a Truth Social post by Donald Trump, peacemaker that he claims to be, Donald Trump. This is from Thursday. If Hamas continues to kill people in Gaza, which was not the deal, capital D with deal, we will have no choice but to go in and kill them. Thank you for your attention to this matter. What is your response to that?
Well, he has a point. The agreement was that only Israel would continue to kill people, not Hamas. Look, Hamas has been engaged in a number of summary executions of people who are convinced are collaborators or Israeli agents, and according to a number of critics, others as well. Now, from a human rights perspective, one, of course, can and should speak out against summary executions of any form by anyone. Having said that, one also needs to ask, what happened to the justice system? What happened to the judges? What happened to the courtrooms? What happened to the lawyers? What happened to the prisons? And if in this situation, Hamas or any others feel that the only way that they can deal with this mortal threat of collaborators armed and supplied by those who have been perpetrating genocide against their people is to get rid of them in a brutal fashion. Is that really the sole thing we should focus on? I mean, I was surprised, people who have been cheering and applauding the mass murder of Palestinians, men, women, and children, young and elderly, for 24 months, are now beside themselves with concern for Palestinian lives and Palestinian human rights and all the rest of it. It's laughable. Of course there shouldn't be summary executions. Of course people should be properly accused and tried and convicted and not executed, even if they are found guilty. But excuse me, we're not talking about Stockholm here. We're not talking about Barcelona. We're talking about a territory that has been reduced to a pile of rubble in a genocide, which cannot have a functioning justice system. And for those who made this possible, who applauded it, who are complicit in it, to now get all high and mighty and sanctimonious, I'm sorry, I refuse to take that seriously. I even find it obscene.
Yeah. I mean, that is a great word for it, obscene. Yeah. The rank hypocrisy.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's an accident that this has become a major propaganda hook in the media. I think that's very much the way that Israel's been playing it. I mean, some of these gangs are like the Abu Shabaab group, which is literally an Israeli proxy, a criminal gang that has been armed and funded by the Israelis in order to create chaos on the ground, in order to loot aid, in order to persecute people that have been carrying out murderous activities on the ground against Palestinians who were demanding law and order from the resistance forces, and demanding law and order in a situation where Mouin has said not only is Israel arming and backing these proxy groups, but it has also destroyed the courts and the prisons and the police. And throughout the genocide, they were targeting Palestinian police, who, by the way, under international law, are civilians. And so now you have a situation where there's absolute chaos, where people are being persecuted, murdered. I mean, they're responsible for killing a journalist, for, attacking Palestinian aid stores and so on. The people demanding that there be some sort of justice, and we ended up with field justice, right? Now, of course, we all want to see anyone have a fair trial. I am, as a matter of principle, opposed to capital punishment in any circumstances. But we're talking about a situation in which the options available to those who are trying to maintain law and order are extremely limited. So while we can all encourage a better system that did exist before October of 2023. We also have to realize what the situation is on the ground and where that situation came from. So who sent the criminals and who destroyed the justice system. Those two pieces tell you a lot more than repeated reels of something that they want to use to further, I have to say, demonize the Palestinian people and show that these Gaza people are savages. Anybody who knows the history of World War II knows what happened to collaborators in France and beyond.
And it's interesting, of course, like as we're speaking, Israel is killing people in Lebanon with strikes. They're killing people in the West Bank. And if Trump, speaking to what you just said, Mouin, about how in some ways Trump can be refreshingly honest, right? Like imagine him saying, if Israel doesn't stop killing people, we're going to go in there and kill them. He'd have his hands full and we'd never be able to stop killing Israelis.
Yeah, and if I could just pick up on the last point Craig made, of course, this is precisely how this is being presented. These savages, these animals, these barbarians, the minute Israel stops killing them, they start killing each other.
Yes.
But the difference is when we kill them for the best reasons in the world, everyone, the whole world is against us and condemns us. But when they start killing each other like a bunch of savages, no one says anything. In other words, it was all a blood libel. It's all anti-Semitism,
right?
And all the rest of it. The other line that we were consistently hearing right after the ceasefire. Oh, and of course, they have nothing to say about continued Israeli killings of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip, because that's, of course, wonderful and justified, and there should be more of it. The other line that we consistently heard after the ceasefire was concluded and Palestinians began to release the captives is that they were only men, because all the women had been raped to death, killed, murdered, and Hamas was refusing to hand over their bodies so that the forensic exam couldn't, determine how brutally and savagely they were murdered. Well, the facts of the case, as everyone knows, including those coordinating this propaganda line, knew perfectly well, was that all the living women captives were released in November 2023 and in February 2025. The reason Hamas was refusing to release anymore is because there weren't any more. I think there may be one more body of an Israeli woman captive, but that's it. And everyone knows this, but out of thin air, for no purpose other than demonization and dehumanization, they concoct this fabricated story about, the women who were being raped or to death and murdered, and Hamas, to cover its tracks, is refusing to hand them over.
Right. And we've talked about this repeatedly, the disgusting double standard of the mass rape hoax that wasn't, which is getting tons of coverage, still gets coverage by the media, the Western media, gets spread by politicians. Kamala Harris at the DNC mentioned it. While at the same time, there is no coverage whatsoever of rape of Palestinians that is documented and undeniable and not disputed, and in fact documented by Israeli media and defended in many cases by Israelis. So this, it's such a despicable weaponization of sexual violence by people who couldn't care less as long as the victims are Palestinian.
And it's the repeated pattern of this entire genocide, which is Israel fabricates atrocity propaganda that never occurred, that sounds horrible. It is then parroted non-critically by Western media corporations acting as genocide stenographers. It is then debunked, and that you don't get that the level of attention to the debunking of the lies by the same media corporations and politicians that help to disseminate them. And then Israel perpetrates the very acts that it falsely accused the Palestinians of having perpetrated. And that has happened over and over again, with babies in ovens and babies on clotheslines and mass rape and Hamas using human shields and, all of these kinds of, debunked claims.
Right.
Then, actually perpetrated by the same Israeli voices that concocted them in the first place. I think that's That's the skeleton of this entire 2 years.
A lie travels halfway around the world before the truth is shot through the head by an Israeli sniper.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.